Bettor Sports Betting is your home for picks, props, and futures for tonight's action. Bettor Sports Betting wants to know what picks you're playing tonight. Tell us in the live chat on YouTube, Twitter, and the Bettor Sports Network app. This is Bettor Sports Betting with Fantasy Alarm's Dan Servodidio.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome in here to the Bettor Sports Betting Show on Bettor Sports Network and Fantasy Alarm. We got a jam-packed show for you guys on tap today, so appreciate everyone coming in here on a Thursday afternoon. I got Jon Impemba with me. We're talking some Lions-Chiefs betting picks. We're talking some baseball betting picks for tonight's smaller slate of games, and then I'll be giving out some college football week 2 bets because, Saturday is a huge slate, some really good matchups on deck there. So we'll get to all this today. A lot of football, though, obviously, on today's show. What's up, John?
What isn't up, Dan? We have, obviously there's a lot going on here at Fantasy Alarm and Bettor Sports Network with the kickoff of the NFL season this evening, with the Chiefs and the Lions game going on here. And,
Yep.
We're now entering the time of the year where we're going to have, at one point, 5 sports going on. The NHL starts early October. The NBA is right around the corner after that. We'll have MLB playoffs. We'll have NFL football. We'll have college football. College basketball is right around that time as well. It is
coming up.
This is the busy season for those of us who are fortunate enough to talk sports for a living here. So a lot is up here, Dan, as we get ready for today.
I figured that'd be the answer from you, John. If you go over to Fantasy Alarm right now, fantasyalarm.com, you could see just all the articles and features and videos that are up on there for, you mentioned it, just the baseball slate, obviously, tonight, but week 1 football, DFS, if you're doing that, betting picks, fantasy, start, sit, all that stuff, just to get you guys ready for week 1. And college football, too. I got an article that went up today for some of my best bets for week 2 college football. So we got you covered with everything. And, I kind of wish the NHL and NBA seasons just pushed back a little bit,
When they started a couple of years ago at Christmas, that was perfect, right?
Oh, I know, right?
And we ended up having
there's a dead period where it's just basically baseball in the summer. I feel like we could go with another sport or two in there. But once the NBA Finals and Stanley Cup wrap up. But we got football. Football's back tonight. We got Lions, Chiefs, and we got to dive right into it because we're going to get out some best bets. If you have any picks of your own, definitely throw them in the chat here, and we'll see where people are going there. Awesome graphic here from our producer Tyler Soto that's jumping behind the scenes today. But a little NFL blitz theme here to start off this season. Lions, Chiefs. The Chiefs are favored 4.5 on the spread there. The over-under drops a little bit. It was at 56, 55. It's now at 53. I'm seeing. So whatever you sports books you're looking at, definitely keep an eye on that. But the spread there, 4.5 for the Chiefs, has also dropped because of the Travis Kelce injury news. Looking doubtful to play tonight. And Chris Jones looks like he's going to be out as well tonight with that contract situation. So a couple notable absences for the Chiefs. Where are you going with this game, and any specific leans that you like before we start giving out picks?
Yeah, I still like the Chiefs here. I'm actually happy to see the spread drop. I'll gladly take the minus 4.5 here. It's still Patrick Mahomes. I think there's a little bit of an overreaction. I get it. Travis Kelce is clearly the best offensive weapon on that team, but Patrick Mahomes elevates everybody that's around him all the time. He just is capable. We've seen him make many of wide receivers, viable options in an offense here. They also have a pretty good running game behind Pacheco and Jerick McKinnon. I understand the front seven of Detroit is certainly a pretty solid core there, but I still think at home this is a game that Kansas City is going to score with because on the other side of the ball, for Detroit rather, that offense certainly has a lot of questions into it. They have Amon-Ra St. Brown, but what else? What's their next wide receiver? Is it Josh Reynolds? Is it Marvin Jones? Is it the rookie tight end Sam Laporta? And with the running game here, as bullish as I am on Jahmyr Gibbs, and we'll get to that when we start talking about some of our favorite bets for today, there's still a lot of questions between Montgomery and Gibbs and how that offense is going to work and the rotation and things like that. And if you find yourself down a couple of scores here or down 10 or 7 to Kansas City and you have to start throwing to play catch up against, Patrick Mahomes, you usually don't win those games. So, I'll take the point decrease here and the overreaction a little bit to people coming in on the Lions, I think, and go with KC.
I do think it's a big reaction. Obviously, I guess we're on opposite sides here because I like the Lions. I like the Lions to cover. I'm giving that out as a pick. I like them in the 4.5. I mean, whatever you can get it. If you want to buy a few points and go to, honestly, I bet this a couple weeks ago when it was like 6.5 because I just thought it would be a closer game. And I just think the offense for the Lions, I know they have questions, as you mentioned, in the receiving core. I just think they're going to want to grind this out and really lean on the run, keep the ball away from Mahomes and the Chiefs offense. They brought in David Montgomery and they drafted Jibreel Gibbs for a reason. I think we're going to see a heavy dose of them, both, rushing, but receiving for Gibbs as well. But I just think this Lions offense is really going to grind this one out. And I'm not surprised to see the under the total drop in too because of obviously Kelsey, but I just think it's going to be a lower scoring atmosphere. So I'll gladly, I'll take the points there with the Lions. And a couple interesting stats when I was just diving into this and seeing some trends that thankfully other writers and other betting experts have all compiled over the years. But Jared Goff, 6-0 against the spread in week 1 over his career with the Rams and the Lions. Very interesting there and, kind of surprising too. But I think that's telling. And then Mahomes too. I've mentioned this on this show in the past where when he's a larger favorite than 3.5 points is kind of the benchmark that I've been looking at. When he's a favorite of 3.5 points or more, his record against the spread is not what you'd think. It's not great. 10-4 against the spread are opponents against Mahomes when they are 3.5 point underdogs or more, which is what we have with the Lions here. That was 10-4 against the spread last year. And over the past 3 years, 28-15 against the spread are opponents when they are 3.5 point underdogs or more against Mahomes. So I think these are just stats where I'm looking at you'd think Mahomes and the Chiefs would win by a lot more, but they play more closer games than you'd think, according to what the Vegas spreads are before the game. So
I wonder what the average spread is of those games. Because, the Chiefs are often a team that have pretty high point spreads. So I'd be curious to see if a lot of those are 6.5, 7.5 versus, a 3.5, right? It's just more than 3.5 is just the stat that they kind of have for it. It certainly could play out. I know what the other point you make is, opening day in the matchups that they have here. It's not too often that the Lions or a Goff-led team is in a prime time matchup on opening week. Generally they probably have a little bit of an easier draw than the Kansas City Chiefs, the defending Super Bowl champions. So I'd be curious to see if the caliber of competition the Lions are now going to be forced to go up against, how they fare there. But listen, I think the Lions are definitely a team that can be exciting. I just feel like there's still a lot of questions on that offense. Is Goff going to be able to repeat what he did? Are they for real? Was last year just sort of the perfect storm? Their defense was very bad last year still. If their defense is still very bad this year, is it going to even matter how many points they score? So,
I do think, you got questions about the Lions offense. I got questions about the Chiefs offense now that Kelsey's out. I just they don't have a true, go-to receiver now, pass catcher in that offense. It's going to be a lot of, and I'm a fan of, Andy Reid, obviously from his Eagles days, but it's going to be interesting to see what kind of game plan and what kind of plays he's calling to get the ball in, if Kadarius Toney's fully healthy there, Rashee Rice.
They claim he's good to go tonight. So
I know I
can't find a line for him anywhere. Nobody has a receiving line for Toney. I don't know why that is, if they still think he's questionable or they're waiting to hold out because of the Kelsey news or what. But I was looking to see if I could find an opening line. I found an opening line, but no active lines. An opening line had him for 37.5 receiving yards, but no book actually has a line out for Toney right now.
Yeah, I wonder if once we get closer to kickoff and if he is officially active, maybe there's some lines popping up. So that might be something to look for once we get, an hour up until game time tonight. Game's at 8:20 tonight, so keep that in mind as well. But yeah, so and I think honestly, the Chris Jones loss on the defensive line it just can't be overlooked too. Sure. I think the Lions are going to want to take advantage of that and pound the rock on the ground game here. And that's one of my picks I'll throw out right now. I like David Montgomery over. You can look at over his rushing yards props. It's around 52.5, but on DraftKings you can get 50 plus rushing yards for David Montgomery at -140. I like that. Just a couple yards lower, but I still like his overs on his rushing. I think that the loss of Jones is notable here. But again, as I mentioned, I think the Lions are going to look to use Montgomery heavy as the lead ball carrier. We'll still see Jahmyr Gibbs plenty too, but I think in terms of rushing, I think Montgomery is the guy that they brought in. They signed him to a 3-year deal with Jamal Williams leaving. And I actually wrote up David Montgomery this pick in the Underdog Fantasy Picks article over on Fantasy Alarm. That's for free if you want to check that out. But I broke down a lot of stats, just kind of going back through last year, looking at when Jamal Williams got, 12 plus carries a game, he was going over this 50 yards a lot, more often than not. Same thing when David Montgomery was getting 12 plus carries with the Bears last year. He was also going over a lot, and that was with Justin Fields and Khalil Herbert taking away a lot of the production too. So I think here we're going to see, 15 carries or so from Montgomery. I think it's enough to get over his rushing yards props. So that's a pick I love tonight.
Yeah, listen, I'm not going to argue with you. I think you're correct in the way that the Lions are going to try to at least approach this game from the beginning, and that's to control the clock, keep Mahomes out the field, and running the football is a way to do that. And yeah, they gave Montgomery $7 million. So that's no small amount of money for a guy to sign off of free agency, come in, replacing Jamal Williams. And I know I've gone back and forth and mentioned, I think a lot of Jamal Williams' usage and production just had to do with the fact that DeAndre Swift was just incapable of staying healthy. But I also think the way this offense can be built together is with a lot of just, the old thunder and lightning they used to call, when it was the Giants. I think they had Brandon Jacobs and forgetting like the little small back that they had there. But bringing in Montgomery, bringing Jahmyr Gibbs, you can run them both out there and have a pretty effective running game. So I like that call. Again, I mentioned earlier, I'm pretty bullish on Jahmyr Gibbs this year. If a lot of, fantasy site projection, season-long projection places have Jahmyr Gibbs reception sitting where in like 70 receptions, 80 receptions on the year, which I've seen some places have him at, well, he's got listed for 3.5 tonight. So if he's going to hit 80 catches this year, he's got to have more than 3.5 a game. So I went over to the 3.5 catches tonight at -135 on DraftKings. And then I did an alt reception yards line here, plus 50 or more yards for Jahmyr Gibbs receiving tonight at +230. So I kind of like both of those. Again, he's an explosive player. He's a guy that can take a quick pass and go 30, 40 yards. So I think they're going to, because they lack sort of that other wide receiver in that offense here tonight, they've talked a lot about using Jahmyr Gibbs all over the field. I'm going to buy into some of that coach speak here and think we can get over the Jahmyr Gibbs props tonight.
Yeah, listen, I'm on board with that because that's basically correlated with my David Montgomery pick there, because I do think they're going to use Montgomery as the ball carrier. I doubt he catches any passes, maybe one or two, but Gibbs is going to be, the pass catching third down back for the Lions. There's reports and coach speak from saying that they're going to use him as like a slot receiver because, honestly, he's outside of Amon-Ra St. Brown. He might be the second best pass catcher on this team right now with Jameson Williams not playing tonight. So, Sam Laporta is another name I guess you could watch, the rookie, but they drafted Gibbs for a reason with the 12th overall pick, and I do think he's going to be used a lot in the passing game as like a dump-off option for Jared Goff too. So, yeah, I like that call. His receiving yards line, you went the alt line 50+, but with some nice odds there. But if you want to just look at his regular receiving yards, 31.5 is the line over on DraftKings, but it is juiced to the over there, -130. So
that's why I kind of liked the alt line on that, right?
Yeah,
like it's not a huge juice over, -130, but if they're thinking 30.5 or 31.5, I think you said, is more likely to go over. Like I'll take plus 230 on the 50. We'll see what we can get.
We got Michael Rojas commenting on YouTube chat here. Appreciate it, Michael. Saying he likes a same game parlay. Isaiah Pacheco under 54.5 rushing yards and the under 53 total points. What do you think about that one, John?
I mean, listen, this is definitely a tough team could be a tough team to run against, with given their defensive line that they have there. But it all depends on game script here. If you think that because there's no Travis Kelce, they're going to have, Noah Gray or a more traditional blocking tight end there and just running the ball a bit more. Pacheco doesn't need to be an efficient runner to hit over 55, to get over the 54.5. So I think it's close. If this game does turn into an obvious sort of back and forth game, though, you would expect the way Jerick McKinnon finished last year to be a guy that gets some early usage. And then we also saw last year where Pacheco starts the game, he just runs into the back of the offensive line, can't get much going. Then all of a sudden McKinnon gets out there, uses his speed, gets some big plays, and Reed just goes with McKinnon for the rest of the game. So that's certainly something that could find themselves happening here this evening.
Yeah, I do think I didn't place any of these picks or give them out here, but I do think if you're going to back a Chiefs running back in terms of props, it would be McKinnon, especially looking at like his rushing plus receiving yards props. Yeah. Or just receiving yards, but I do think like we could see a lot more McKinnon than Pacheco. And they still have Clyde Edwards-Helaire lingering around, so maybe he pops out and he starts getting the hot hand. Who knows? But I do think Michael, the under is where I'd be looking as well if I wasn't to take a over under in this game. So good call there. All right, what other bets you got for tonight, John?
I mean, when I'm looking at this game here, I also think Amon-Ra St. Brown over 6.5 receptions feels pretty good because, again, there's just nobody else. I think they're going to just pepper Amon-Ra St. Brown with targets. What I like about him as well, and this is some things that, our guy Andrew Cooper, when he talks about him for a fantasy perspective, is that he's a low ADOT guy, which means, he's not someone that runs these deep routes. He just kind of stays by the line of scrimmage. He takes these short passes and then he goes. That is usually conducive to getting a lot of receptions, a lot of targets here. So I do like St. Brown over the 6.5 receptions here. And I see our producer there telling me to put some respect on Sam Laporta's name. Listen, we had Jake Booty on the Quick Out Fantasy Football Show, myself and Andrew Cooper. He said Laporta could be the top rookie tight end in fantasy this season because of his opportunities. He liked him over Dalton Kincaid. He talked about how Laporta was used all over the field in an NFL-style offense there, and it was Iowa, right, that he was at. Yeah. So, and you look at the tight ends that have been produced from Iowa, some diesel tight ends out of basically, what me and Coop call like tight end U at this point. There's a could see. I like Laporta, I do. It's just rookie tight end opening night. We'll see, but I'm bullish on him. I have him on a lot of fantasy teams. I wouldn't hate it if that ends up being true.
Yeah, I think Laporta, I mean, he was like the top receiver, top receiving option at Iowa too. When they did throw the ball, it was a lot of times to Laporta. So, I'm higher on him than some like, I was his landing spot with the Lions with their receiving situation is a lot more favorable than like Michael Mayer going to the Raiders, unfortunately, because I was really high on Michael Mayer coming out of Notre Dame, but if he was the guy in Detroit, I'd be more high on him. So it's it's the landing spot was really good for Laporta there. The Amon-Ra St. Brown receptions prop, I can get behind that because it's. I mean, when
he should have like 12 targets today, right?
That's what I was thinking. He's going to have at least 10 targets tonight, and he's a really good receiver, like pass catcher. So I don't see him dropping a lot. I mean, maybe they start double covering him, but I think that's a good call there. I'll go with the receiver for the Chiefs. With Travis Kelce's absence here, more than likely now, I'm going with Sky Moore over 45.5 receiving yards. It's actually moved up. I'm looking on DraftKings. It's at 46. So whatever the lowest you can get it at, I guess. But I just think out of necessity, they're going to need more to really step up, especially with the underneath routes where Kelce kind of made a living. Moore is going to be that guy because he's playing the slot role now with Juju Smith-Schuster gone. Now he's moved into the starting slot spot. I just think he's going to get, especially with Kelsey out, I think he's going to get a lot of the underneath to middle routes because you got Marquez Valdes-Scantling, kind of the deep ball guy. Rashee Rice, still a rookie, trying to find his way in the offense, I think. Maybe we see a big play out of him, but I don't think he's going to get as many targets as Sky Moore. More, in the offense last year. He's familiar with this stuff. And then, I don't know what we're getting out of Kadarius Toney, honestly, tonight. So he could be out there. He could be used more of a decoy if he's kind of lumbering a little bit. But obviously the talent is there. But I just think Sky Moore.
They said they've anticipated Kadarius Toney being ready to go. Like they didn't. They kept him out of the preseason and training camp really to make sure he was good to go. They expect him to start and be out there.
But he's a guy. He's a guy I would more expect for them to kind of manage his snaps, and maybe they're using him on play. Like his plays to touches ratio is probably gonna be very high because I feel like when he's out there, he's going to get the ball, whether it's on end arounds or whether it's as a receiver. But I just feel like Sky Moore is going to be playing basically every snap. I think.
Would you take some darts then on like a MVS here tonight? There's some lines on him.
You see, the thing with him is like he needs to catch like a long pass for him to go over these, in my opinion. Yeah. So I would rather look at like his anytime touchdown odds rather than look at his yardage. If you want to get some juicy numbers on that, just
he's at 39.5 for his yardage here over on
which is lower than Sky Moore. Crazy enough. Which I'm not surprised at. Pulling up touchdown scorers, we got MVS anytime touchdown scorer plus 200. That's not great odds, but you can look at him as the first touchdown or last touchdown scorer. There is
DraftKings just pulled my my Jibreel Gibbs receptions prop, so now I'm curious.
You're moving lines.
Now I'm curious to see what they move it to.
Is it going to be lower or higher, you think?
Probably higher.
I am seeing they do have Travis Kelce listed as a anytime touchdown scorer here and first or last. I guess kind of, covering their bases. They
called up a tight end from their practice squad, so I can't imagine seeing Kelce out there today.
Yeah, he just hyperextended his knee. If this was like a week ago, maybe we see him, but this just happened. They have they're playing for the long haul. They're playing for a Super Bowl. They don't need to rush him back here for this week 1 game. So I doubt we see him. Colby Conway commented on YouTube chat here. What's up, Colby? He's in Sky. Yeah, I think he's on me with Sky Moore in his receiving yards. I like that tonight. All right, so those are some of our picks and bets for tonight's Lions-Chiefs game. Going to be a fun one, I think, to watch. It's just good to get football back on our TVs here. The only last Thursday we had some solid college football games, but tonight we have Louisville as massive 40-point favorites over Murray State. I will not be tuning into that. I'm not giving any bets out for that one, but it's good to get some actual NFL football here on a Thursday night. All right, let's look at some baseball picks because we got to get to some football, college football a little bit later. But I do want to remind you guys, BetterCast Thursday Night Football is going live tonight. You can watch and play and win with BetterCast. You can download the free BetterCast app. It's really awesome there that they're running contests. You answer over/under questions. Some pregame questions are live in the app now, but during the game, some live questions like which team will score next. Will the Lions score a touchdown on this drive? Those kind of questions will pop up in there, and you can just play and you can rack up points. You win tickets. You win some authentic sports gear, signed collectibles, all that good stuff. So it's the free BetterCast app that you can download and tune in and watch along while you're watching this Lions-Chiefs game to win some of the cool prizes and tickets over on BetterCast. So get on that now before tonight's game. All right, some betting picks for baseball tonight. What is your one of your top picks tonight, John?
I went Dodgers team total over 4.5 runs. It's a -105. They're going up against Braxton Miller. We know the Dodgers have hit lefties really well this season. I'm surprised, honestly, that's it's that low in terms of like the money line there. The minus 105 line feels low for me. So maybe that's a little suspicious. But again, we've seen, Mookie Betts and company here just beat up lefties all season long. So Dodgers over the team total 4.5 runs today.
Yeah, and Braxton Garrett's a guy I think we've both faded in recent weeks here because he's slipped a little bit. So, like that call. The Dodgers small money line favorites minus 122 if you're looking that direction as well. All right, one of my picks, I'm going with the Tigers Yankees over 8.5 here. You can get it. It was at 8 earlier, but minus 105 on FanDuel for the over 8.5. I just think this pitching matchup, it's Eduardo Rodriguez against Carlos Rodon. Maybe on the surface you'd think it'd be lower scoring, but Rodon's struggled since he has come back from injury. He's got pulling it up now. He's got a 5.70 ERA, a 6.63 FIP too this season since return from injury. He's just not gone well for him. He's not the same pitcher as last year. I think the injury's still working him against them. The Tigers offense isn't great, but they do have better numbers against left-handed pitching overall this year, and especially lately, a 350 WOBA over the past 2 weeks against lefties. And the other side, I think the Yankees offense, this has been an offense we fade against righties and we target them against lefties because they are literally night and day when they face some southpaws. Over the past 2 weeks, 364 WOBA, 343 ISO against left-handed pitching. And Eduardo Rodriguez having a decent season, 3.11 ERA, but he's faced some, offenses lately that can also hit left-handed pitching well, and he struggled. He gave up 4 runs to the Astros, gave up 6 runs to the Red Sox in the past month. So I think the Yankees offense, they've picked it up lately. They're on a win streak right now. Their offense is a reason for them actually winning games now. So I think the over in this one is a good way to go.
Yeah, I won't argue with you. Again, we kind of definitely like the Tigers here. And then, the Yankees, again, have guys that are starting to come around. Even you mentioned some of their players, if you look at their stat lines of the year, they don't look that great. But you look at their splits for lefties, they kind of carry it here. My next play here, kind of sticking with the Dodgers team total, I'm giving the Mookie Betts home run prop today. I feel pretty good about it. It's plus 290. I think Betts goes deep here again against Garrett. Again, just ridiculous numbers for Betts against left-handed pitching this year. It just feels like yet another great spot here for him just to continue his sort of back and forth battle push he has for the MVP. He's got a 410 ISO on the year against lefties, a 716 slug, a 450 WOBA. Those are just absurd video game numbers against left-handed pitching here. So give me the Betts home run at plus 290.
Wow, throwing in a daily dinger, even though we're foregoing that segment today. But
that's why I threw it in. I saw no daily dinger. I was like, I'll give it out anyways.
I love it. I mean, 410 ISO against lefties is insane.
410 ISO, 1100 OPS, 500 WOBA, something crazy. It's absurd.
Wild. Michael Rojas commented on the chat here. He likes Bellinger over 1.5 hits, runs, RBI. And Carlos Rodon over 5.5 strikeouts against the Tigers, and the Braves 1.5 run line in the first 5 innings. I like the Braves in the first 5. I'll back that one because one of my picks here is going with the Braves 2.5 run line for the full game. Their 1.5 run line is like minus 170. They're massive favorites, minus 300, 350 favorites on the money line, but I think getting this 2.5 run line is a good way to go as well. But I do think they're going to do it in the first 5 as well. So I can back that. It's Wainwright on the mound for St. Louis. And I just don't see it going well for him, unfortunately, because the Braves offense against righties, the best offense in baseball against right-handed pitching all season. They've tailed off just a little bit lately, but they're still very dangerous in this split. And against, over the past 2 weeks, still a 348 WOBA, 232 ISO against right-handed pitching. And Wainwright, he had a decent start his last outing against the Padres, actually. But before that, over his previous 6 starts, had a 10.52 ERA and at least 6 runs allowed in 3 of his 4 starts prior to that last outing. So I just don't see it going well for him on the road here in Atlanta. And then, I just have confidence in that offense giving Max Fried plenty of run support. And Fried doesn't need much run support, but he's been a stud lately since he's returned from injury. 2.86 ERA in his past 6 starts. The Braves have gone 5-1 in his past 6 outings as well. And the run line, this is interesting because the Cardinals have won both the first 2 games of this series against the Braves. So they're going for the sweep tonight against the Braves, weirdly enough. But the Braves hasn't been swept in a 3 or 4 game series since May, since like mid-May, and that was on the road against the Blue Jays, which you can kind of say, like, all right, they were in Toronto for it. I just don't see them getting swept tonight at all. And I'll gladly take the run line for them to cover, for them to win by multiple runs here. So yeah, I'm on the first 5 if you want to do that as well. But I like the full game run line just to stretch a lead out.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now, again, there obviously are some guys on that team that can hit lefties well. But if you just want to look at recent numbers for the St. Louis against lefties, it's really not all that impressive. So, Wild Goldschmidt, Arenado, Edman, O'Neill, like you look kind of rattle off names. You're like, oh, those guys hit lefties. Those guys hit lefties. And it's like true, like individually in like one-off spots, they hit lefties. But collectively as a team, really, no matter where you kind of like pick the split, they have not been good against lefties this year as they had been in years past. So I ride that one with you too. I think Fried's in a good spot here.
Yeah, and they're an offense season long. They have much better numbers against right-handed pitching than lefties. So, should come through there. All right, you got another pick before we talk some college football, right?
I do. I basically am giving you your pick of the board here for Julio Rodriguez tonight against Zach Little. Little, though, a right-handed pitcher. Numbers against righties this year are dreadful on the season. Righties have a .514 slugging percentage, 357 weighted on base, a 312 average against Zach Little here. If you go on like DraftKings Sportsbook and all them, like hits, runs, and RBIs for Julio tonight is +2 is at 2.5. All of the lines are kind of bumped up. So I think Julio's just in for a big night. It could even be worth just taking a look at his home run prop. I'm going to pull that one up here real quick, just see what the odds are on the homer for him. Julio homer prop is at +330 tonight. I like that. Colby asking, can we go Mariners team total? For sure. The Mariners team total tonight feels pretty good. Again, I'm in on Julio Rodriguez, so I also am more than happy to go in on the Seattle Mariners tonight for sure.
Yeah, Mariners team total 4.5 over on DraftKings, -110 to the over. So basically, get even odds on that one for the Mariners to show out tonight. I like that. I would look at the full game over in this one as well. I didn't throw it out, but Luis Castillo on the road is like significantly worse. Not terrible, but significantly worse than he is at home. So I do think like the full game over.
He gives up home runs too. So like a guy that gives up home runs, the overs are always in play. So I agree with you.
Yeah. So all right. So everything for Julio Rodriguez. You're just covering all the bases.
You can bet all of his props tonight. You pick your favorite, and I think that we go.
I like that.
So those are our MLB betting picks here for the day. It's time for our college football corner segment here, Dan. You've been giving us some great college football bets over the last couple of weeks. And right now, Bettor Edge, you compete against Dan in Servo 7 college football totals competition this weekend, powered by Bettor Edge. Make the most right picks in this free competition and get paid. Enter by signing up on Bettor Edge at bettoredge.com/better. Use promo code better to get $20 when you sign up and verify. No deposit is required. Dan, what do we got for some college football week 2 bets this week?
Yeah, so that Bettor Edge contest, our producer Adam Bernard, he won it last week by going. You just have to pick 7 games, over unders. You don't have to worry about spreads or anything. And there's a pool of like 21 games that you can choose from. So just pick 7 of your favorites, go over or under. You can win some awesome stuff over at Bettor Edge. So you definitely jump in on that now before Saturday's slate. We'll remind you again tomorrow, but get on it now. Look through some of these, and I'll throw one pick out that I do like. Talking over unders. One of those games, because we got some big matchups here. Alabama, Texas is a huge one.
Yeah.
But one that's, I think really interesting, Utah versus Baylor. And this was a bet I gave out on college football best bets article I wrote up for Fantasy Alarm. So you can check that out. You can get it with the All-Pro subscription if you have it. But just kind of some cliff notes on this one. I do like the under here. I like the under 47.5. We have two teams with just weird quarterback situations. So Utah, you might have remembered last week, John, when we talked about Utah versus Florida. And successfully, I gave out the under for that game because Utah was coming in with their starting quarterback, Cam Rising. He was doubtful to play. He did not play, so they went with their backup. And their offense just kind of went into a more run-focused, game managing type of scheme there. Only scored 24 points. Their defense was electric, held Florida just 11 points. But their offense for sure was just, it's just less firepower with Cam Rising not in there and healthy. And even, he's questionable here. He's apparently practiced this week. It could play, but he's going to be limited. And he's a dual threat guy, can really break some long runs with his legs. But he's coming off a torn ACL from last year. I don't see him running a ton, even if he does play. But overall, I just think the offense is going to be more conservative, just especially on the road here, too. Going on the road to Baylor, I feel like they're going to want to manage this one. Even with Rising situation, they're full touchdown favorites on the road here. So they are expected to win. And I just think they're going to, on the offensive side, they're going to want to manage things. And their defense is, this is one of the best defenses in the country. And certainly in the Pac-12, but they really held Florida to not moving the ball well at all last week. Again, 11 points allowed in that one, and they get a Baylor offense here that's got a injury to their starting quarterback. Blake Shapen injured his MCL. He's out for this game. He's gonna be out for the next couple weeks. And their backup Sawyer Robertson is just a notable step down in talent level. And I just think it's a huge loss in this Baylor offense being, just a threat at all, especially against this Utah defense. And when this backup, Sawyer Robertson, came into the game last week, and by the way, Baylor lost, bad loss to Texas State last week, 42-31. But when Robertson came into the game, he went just 6 for 12 through the air, had an interception and a fumble when he was out there. And this is a guy that, barely saw playing time last year at Mississippi State before he transferred to Baylor. Just has a lot of inexperience, and the talent level is a big step down from their starter, Blake Shapen. So I just think this is going to be a very much lower scoring game. I don't think Baylor is going to score much at all. Maybe they break a long touchdown or so, but I just think Utah is going to manage this one just like they did against Florida. Took the under last week with Utah, taking it again here. So this is one of those picks on Better Edge that I'll give you. If you want to fade me, go for it. But if you want to back my reasoning, you can go for that too. But that's one of the big games on Better Edge. I will say, I'm going to give out a couple more here, but I have two bets on the college football article that I have over on Fantasy Alarm that's live that I'm not going to give out here because, it's behind the All-Pro subscription. You got to go get the All-Pro subscription and get my best bets. The Utah-Baylor one is on there, but I got to pick for Notre Dame against North Carolina State, which is an interesting matchup, and then Oregon at Texas Tech, also a really good non-conference matchup this weekend. So you can check out my picks for those games over on the Fantasy Alarm Best Bets article. One pick I'll go to, people might hate me. People might call me, soft for doing this, whatever. I'm going Nebraska against Colorado. I'm fading Colorado.
Against the masses, going against them. Someone said that more money had gone in on Colorado this week than was all NFL games or something like
every
that.
NFL game put together, Look, people are hammering Colorado. And so the look-ahead line, if you kind of go back weeks ago before we saw even Colorado take the field last week, Nebraska was favored by I think it was a touchdown. They were favored by a touchdown on the road here at Colorado. But again, the public perception of Colorado and the money coming in on Colorado has flipped this. Colorado's favored 3-point favorites at home now. And the total has also gone up a lot because we just saw Colorado's defense get torn up by TCU, but the offense for the Buffs is very good, obviously. So that total has risen too. But I'm fading Colorado here. I'm going Nebraska +3. I think Nebraska comes in here with just, now that they've seen what Colorado is, especially on the offensive end, I think they're going to have a really good game plan. Matt Rule, the head coach for Nebraska, this guy was a really good game planner when he was at Baylor. And as an underdog too, he was really good against the spread. 11-3 against the spread as an underdog at Baylor in the last 14 instances, going back a couple years ago when he was the head coach there. And Nebraska covered as underdogs last week against Minnesota. And I think that game, and it was a low-scoring game, a 13-10 final, but it was a game that they could have won. They lost by a field goal at the last second, but I think coming out of that, just being very much battle-tested already on the road, is going to help them coming into this environment against Colorado. I'm just, I need to see more from Colorado. Their defense is a huge question mark still. I mean, this is still a team that gave up 40-plus points to TCU last week. And it was also, a TCU offense that lost, a lot of key parts of their high-scoring offense from last year. I mean, we'll see what they do the rest of the season, but Nebraska's offense is admittedly underwhelming, but they do have a strong run game. And I think that's what they're going to do a lot here just to keep the ball out of Colorado's offense's hands and just kind of limit how many possessions Shedeur Sanders and that passing game actually get. They're also just going to limit the explosive plays that we saw the Colorado offense break off multiple, long gains and from, Shedeur Sanders, the running back Edwards. I just think Nebraska is going to really come in here ready to go. So I like them getting 3 points here. It's been bouncing around the spread, 2.5, 3.5. But if you can get it 3 points, I think it's a key number too. If they lose by a field goal, you push. Yeah. But I think there's a chance they actually win this game outright. So give me Nebraska.
It is a bold take, but sometimes it's not wrong, right? I mean, when everybody is just hammering it because of what they, their perception is of their offense. But to your point, they gave up 1 billion points. So, this could just come down to who scores last, who has the ball last, right? And if it's Nebraska, you got the +3. So I kind of like that.
And if you go back to that game last week, Travis Hunter had a really good interception. We were talking about that recently. That was on the goal line. But if that goes another way, that's a TCU touchdown. They had another interception, could have been another TCU score. So this game honestly could have gone the opposite way. We could have seen a TCU win, maybe even a double-digit win, but it didn't end up that way, obviously. All credit to Colorado for winning outright as 21-point underdogs, but
and you talk about TCU's defense being garbage.
It's garbage.
I mean, if Nebraska plays even better defense, I imagine you expect them to. There may be more resistance against the Colorado offense, and now it changes the picture of that game as well.
Yeah. So I mean, you got to go with some bold takes sometimes, and I just think the public overreaction to Colorado is really
the bold take was our friend in chat last week that put what do you say $400 money line on Colorado.
He was right. Got to give it to him. Yeah. So if that comes through again, maybe I'll change my tune on Colorado. But all right, then the last pick I'll throw out here before we get out is UCLA San Diego State. I like the over in this one, over 48.5. The UCLA offense, so they only, quote unquote, only scored 27 points last week. But this is going to be a much different story, a much different offense, I think, this time around, because they went into that game with a quarterback competition. They started with Chase Garbers, was very disappointing. But Chip Kelly, man, it took him a while to go to their top recruit, their freshman sensation, Dante Moore. When he got in the game, though, he only needed a few plays to lead a touchdown drive in his first series in the game. Then he went back to the bench. Chip Kelly went back to Chase Garber as the starter, maybe to give him another chance Garbers threw a pick. Back in was Dante Moore. And Moore went on to launched a long touchdown pass right away to the talented J. Michael Sturdivant. And then UCLA, went all the way down in the next drive, almost scored again. Moore did throw a pick in the end zone, but that could have been another score. And then his next 2 drives were both field goal drives. So this guy came in and was instant offensive burst for UCLA. And you could tell the way the offense was humming. The guys were playing with a different vibe. Guys were very much playing with more confidence with Dante Moore under center. I think UCLA's offense is going to be a lot better this week. And I look at San Diego State. They just gave up 28 points to an FCS team, Idaho State, last week. They won the game 36-28. But giving up 28 points is not a good look in that situation. And if you kind of pencil in UCLA for doing more than that, I think we could see like 40-plus points alone from them. But on the other side, San Diego State's offense is pretty good too. They did score those 36 points, but going back to last year, they made a quarterback change to Jalen Maiden, and this offense has been a lot more efficient, a lot more dangerous. Their games have gone over more often than not with Maiden at quarterback than not. So I like the overall over here. I think 48.5 is a great time to kind of buy low because you'd think, the public perception of like San Diego State having a really good defense, maybe UCLA going on the road for this, maybe they struggle a little bit, but as long as Chip Kelly doesn't mess around and keep Dante Moore out of the game, then I got confidence in UCLA putting up points in this game going over. So those are some of the picks I got. Again, go to my article over on Fantasy Alarm. Check out some of my best bets for, again, Oregon, Texas Tech, really good game, and then Notre Dame, North Carolina State, and that Utah Baylor game as well. But just some really good games this weekend.
Yeah, I'm excited. Anytime you give me something to do on a Saturday now, watch some football. I mean, I'll be in our Fantasy Discord anyways on Saturday, answering everybody's start sit questions, getting them ready for Sunday. But it's nice to have some college football I can throw on while also getting that out there for the people.
Yeah, and I didn't give him a bet out for Texas versus Alabama. That's Saturday night. I'm just going to be sitting back and watching that one because I could see it going multiple ways, but it's going to be a really good game to watch. So if anybody's got any picks on that, let me know. But I'll be enjoying that game either way. Those are some college football bets. Again, we started this show talking through some Lions versus Chiefs bets and props for tonight's game. And, me and John gave out some baseball picks as we normally do. So good luck with everyone's own picks tonight. And we'll be back tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern. Me and Howard Bender will be breaking down the whole NFL Week 1 slate, giving out all of our best bets, props, everything for Sunday's games. But good luck with all your picks. Enjoy Lions Chiefs tonight. John, awesome as always. Thanks for coming in here. Yeah. And we'll see you guys later.